My name is Bethany Fletcher. I'm 28 years old. 15 minutes before our flight to Europe, my parents slipped my passport out of my bag and watched me panic at the airport gate. They spoke to the staff like calm, responsible adults, shaking their heads while I tore through my suitcase. "She's always careless," my mom said. My sister laughed and said, "Guess you're staying home to watch the dog." I didn't argue, I didn't cry. I just said, "Fine." For 16 years, they'd trained me to believe being left behind was my fault. So while they posted photos from Rome, I drove to a nursing home in Cedar Falls to visit my grandmother. That's when I found the truth they never thought I'd see. And one phone call from a 79-year-old woman didn't just ruin their vacation, it exposed 16 years of lies and put something in my hands they never meant to give me. This is that story. I was 12 when I learned my place in the family. It was 2007. Summer. My sister Vanessa was 15, and my parents sat us down at dinner to announce the big family vacation, Disneyland. A week in California. Hotels with pools. Character breakfasts. The whole dream. Vanessa screamed, literally jumped out of her chair and screamed. I remember smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. I'd never been on a plane, never stayed in a hotel. I started planning which rides we'd go on first. Then my dad cleared his throat. "Actually," he said, looking at his plate, "we can only afford to take one of you." The room went silent. Vanessa stopped mid-squeal. "Vanessa's older," my mom added quickly, like she'd rehearsed it. "She'll appreciate it more. You're still young, Bethany. There'll be other trips." There were no other trips. Vanessa went to Disneyland. I went to Grandma Dorothy's house in Cedar Falls, Iowa, 150 miles away, a world away from my parents' guilt. Grandma lived in a small yellow house on Maple Avenue, with a porch swing that creaked and flower boxes full of marigolds she watered every morning at 7. I spent that week helping her bake cookies. Chocolate chip, the recipe handwritten on a stained index card from 1965. She let me crack the eggs. She didn't say much about my parents' choice, but on the third night, when I was scrolling through Vanessa's Facebook photos, her grinning in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle, Grandma sat beside me on the porch swing. "You know what I see when I look at you?" she said. I shrugged. I was 12. I didn't know what anyone saw. "I see someone who's going to be stronger than all of them," she said. "Because you're learning something they'll never learn. You're learning that love isn't loud, it's quiet, it shows up." I didn't cry in front of my parents when they picked me up, but I cried on Grandma's porch, and she held me and said, "You're worth more than any castle, sweetheart." I believed her, for a little while. But the pattern didn't stop. When Vanessa turned 16, my parents threw her a party at an event hall. 80 guests, a DJ, a photo booth with props. I was 14, and I spent the night setting up chairs and refilling the punch bowl. No one asked me to. I just knew that's what I was supposed to do. My 16th birthday 2 years later was dinner at Olive Garden. Just the four of us. My mom ordered breadsticks and told me to pick something under $20. The bill was $127. I saw it when my dad paid. Grandma sent me $200 in a birthday card that year. The note inside said, "Buy yourself something special. You deserve it." I bought books. 7 of them. I didn't buy clothes like the other girls at school because I didn't want my parents to feel bad. I was always trying not to make them feel bad. That's what happens when you're the second choice. You shrink. You make yourself smaller so you fit into the space they've left for you. When Vanessa turned 18, my parents bought her a used Honda Civic, $8,000. They made a whole thing of it, surprising her in the driveway with a bow on the hood. When I turned 18, my dad told me money was tight. "You can share with Vanessa when she's home from college," he said. Vanessa came home twice a year. I took the bus to my part-time job at the library. $9.50 an hour, shelving books and checking out patrons who smiled at me like I mattered. Grandma let me borrow her old Toyota Camry sometimes, a 2003 model with a dent in the passenger door and a tape deck that still worked. My parents didn't like that. My mom once said, "Dorothy, you're spoiling her." Spoiling, as if being seen was a luxury. College was worse. Vanessa went to the University of Iowa. My parents paid her tuition, room, and board, covered everything. When I got into DePaul University in Chicago, social work program, full ride except housing, my dad said, "We helped Vanessa because she applied early. You'll have to figure it out yourself." I took out $35,000 in student loans. I worked 2 part-time jobs. I graduated in 2021 with honors and debt and a deep, quiet exhaustion that I didn't know how to name. Vanessa graduated debt-free. My parents bought her a MacBook Pro as a graduation gift, $1,800. They gave me a card. It said, "Proud of you." Grandma gave me $500 every semester. She'd transfer it into my account with a note. "For my brilliant granddaughter." I never told my parents. That money was mine, the only thing that felt like mine. By the time I was 27, I'd learned the rules. Don't ask for things. Don't expect equal treatment. Don't make waves. Be grateful for breadstumbs. And always, always remember, Grandma's house was the only place I was someone's first choice. But in 2022, even that started to slip away. January 2023. Sunday dinner at my parents' house in Naperville, a suburb 40 minutes west of Chicago, where I lived in a studio apartment in Logan Square and barely made rent on my social worker salary. Vanessa was visiting from Des Moines, where she worked as a yoga instructor and ran an Instagram account with 12,000 followers. She posted a lot about wellness and gratitude and living your best life. Her captions always included emojis. We were halfway through the lasagna when my dad stood up, wine glass in hand. "I have exciting news," he said. His face was flushed, happy. "We're going to Europe this summer, Paris, Rome, Barcelona. 12 days, all 4 of us." Vanessa gasped. She actually gasped, hand to chest, like she was in a movie. I set my fork down slowly. "All 4?" I said. My voice sounded strange, small. My mom smiled at me. It didn't reach her eyes. "Of course, honey, it's a family trip." Vanessa was already pulling out her phone. "Oh my God, I need to start a Pinterest board. Paris in June? The light is going to be perfect for content." I looked at my dad. "How are we paying for this?" He waved a hand. "Don't worry about it. I've been saving." My parents had retired early in 2021. My dad at 51, my mom at 49. They lived off their pensions and some investments I didn't understand. They didn't talk about money except to tell me they didn't have any when I needed help. But now there was money for Europe. "How much does a trip like that cost?" I asked. 18,000, my dad said, like it was nothing. 450 per person? Flights? Hotels? Some tours? We'll split the meals. $4,500. I had $800 in my checking account. I still owed $28,000 on my student loans. "I don't know if I can afford—" "We're covering it," my mom interrupted. "It's a gift. A family gift." I should have been happy. I should have said thank you. Instead, I felt my stomach twist. Because in 16 years of being the second choice, I'd never been included in something this big. And I didn't trust it. Over the next few months, Vanessa turned the trip into a full-time project. She created a group chat called Fletcher Family Europe and flooded it with links. Hotels with balconies, Michelin-starred restaurants, tours of the Louvre that cost €60 per person. "We're not doing the cheap stuff," she texted one night in February. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing." I researched free museums, parks, walking tours. Vanessa replied, Ugh, Beth, we're not backpacking. This is a real vacation. My mom chimed in. Bethany, maybe buy some nice clothes? Vanessa's followers might see the photos. I spent $600, 3 months of savings on 2 dresses and a pair of shoes. I felt sick buying them. Vanessa posted a photo of herself in a Revolve haul. $1,200 worth of outfits. The caption said, "Packing for Europe with fam #blessed." One of her followers commented, "Your parents must be so generous." I stared at that comment for a long time. My parents retired early. They didn't work. Where was the money coming from? In mid-March, I tried calling Grandma. I called her every Sunday, like clockwork. 10 a.m. my time. She'd tell me about her week, about the books she was reading, about the birds at her feeder. But that Sunday, no one answered. I called again. Nothing. I called my dad. "Oh," he said, casual, annoyed. "Didn't we tell you? Mom's at Maplewood now, the nursing home. She had a stroke last November. She's fine, just needs care." November. It was March. 4 months. No one told me. A stroke? My voice cracked. "Dad, it's been 4 months. Why didn't anyone—" "You're busy with work," he said. "We didn't want to worry you. She's fine, Bethany." "What's the address?" He sighed. "Maplewood Nursing Home, 428 Oak Street, Cedar Falls. But don't bother her too much. She needs rest." I hung up. I sat on my couch. I stared at the wall. Then I got in my car and drove. 150 miles, 2.5 hours west on I-88. Then I-80. The Iowa flatlands stretched out gray and endless under a March sky that looked like old paper. I arrived at Maplewood just after noon. It was a low brick building with a parking lot half empty and a sign out front that needed repainting. I walked to the front desk, and the receptionist, a young woman with tired eyes, asked me to sign the visitor log. I looked at the page. The last name before mine was Diane Fletcher, February 10th. My mother. Over a month ago. A 15-minute visit to drop off toiletries. Is that the only log?" I asked. The receptionist nodded. "Family doesn't visit much here." I walked down a hallway that smelled like disinfectant and something underneath it. Something sour and human. Room 314. The door was half open. Grandma was in the bed by the window. Thin. So much thinner than I remembered. Her hair, white and uncombed, hung past her shoulders. She was wearing a hospital gown, not her own clothes. She turned her head when I walked in, and she started crying. "Bethany?" Her voice shook. "Is that really you?" I crossed the room. I sat in the chair beside her bed. I took her hand. Her left hand, the strong one, because the right was still weak from the stroke. "I'm here, Grandma," I said. "I'm so sorry I didn't come sooner." "I thought everyone forgot about me," she whispered. I couldn't speak. I just held her hand and let her cry. After a while, she looked around the room. At the empty walls. At the TV mounted in the corner, playing a game show no one was watching. "Where's your father?" she asked. "Your mother? Did they come too?" I swallowed hard. They're traveling. But I'm here." She nodded. She didn't ask more. She knew. A nurse came in, Kelly, mid-30s, kind face, with a tray of medications, pills in little paper cups. "Mrs. Fletcher, time for your meds," she said. Grandma took them without complaint. I asked Kelly, "What medications is she on?" "Blood pressure, blood thinner, thyroid meds." "Oh, and we just restocked her BP meds yesterday. Sorry for the delay." "Delay?" Kelly looked uncomfortable. "Yeah, her prescription ran out Thursday. The pharmacy didn't fill it until Saturday. She missed 2 doses. 2 days without blood pressure medication for a 76-year-old stroke patient." "We called the family contact," Kelly added. Your father. It took him a day to respond. My father, who was planning a trip to Europe. I stayed until evening. I brought Grandma tulips from the grocery store. Yellow, her favorite. I brought homemade cookies. I loaded movies on my iPad, and we watched Breakfast at Tiffany's, her favorite, while she ate 3 cookies and smiled. Before I left, she grabbed my hand. Beth, she said, can I ask you something? Anything. Did I do something wrong? Is that why no one comes anymore? I wanted to lie. I wanted to tell her everyone was just busy, that they loved her, that she mattered. But I couldn't. You didn't do anything wrong, Grandma, I said. Not a single thing. She looked at me with eyes that had taught children to read for 40 years, eyes that knew when someone was lying. Then where is everyone? I didn't have an answer. I drove home in silence. No radio, just the hum of the highway and the pressure building behind my eyes. That night, I texted my dad. I saw Grandma today. We need to talk. He read it at 8:42 p.m. Paris time. He didn't reply. June 15th. O'Hare International Airport, Terminal 1, 4:05 p.m. We were 15 minutes from boarding United Flight 986 to Paris. Gate C18. The departure board blinked our flight number in yellow. On time. My parents sat near the window, watching planes taxi on the runway. Vanessa was filming an Instagram story, panning across the terminal with her phone. OMG, Paris, here we come. The camera swept past me. I was sitting in a black plastic chair, my Herschel backpack in my lap, my boarding pass folded in my hand. I'd been looking forward to this for months. Despite everything. Despite the money I didn't have. Despite the dresses I couldn't afford. Despite the creeping feeling that something was wrong. I wanted to believe this was real, that my family wanted me there. I reached into the front pocket of my backpack to check my passport one more time. A habit. I'd checked it twice already. Once at home, once at security. It wasn't there. I froze. I unzipped the pocket fully. Empty. I dumped the entire contents of my bag onto the chair. Wallet, phone, chapstick, boarding pass, a crumpled receipt. No passport. My passport? I said. My voice came out strange, tight. It's not here. My mother looked up from her magazine. What? My passport. I swear I put it in the front pocket. It's gone. My dad sighed. Bethany, you need to be more responsible. I am responsible. My hands were shaking. It was here 20 minutes ago. I showed it at security. Vanessa was still holding her phone. She lowered it slowly, her face neutral. Did you check your purse? I don't have a purse. I checked my bag. It's not here. The gate agent's voice crackled over the intercom. United Flight 986 to Paris. Will begin boarding in 10 minutes. Group 2, please prepare. 10 minutes. I stood up. My bag slipped off the chair, spilling everything onto the floor. I didn't pick it up. I ran. Back towards security. Back to the Starbucks 2 gates down, where I'd gotten coffee 30 minutes ago. My heart hammered in my chest. The barista, a young guy with gauges in his ears, looked at me blankly when I asked if anyone had turned in a passport. No, sorry, he said. You could check the TSA lost and found. I ran back to gate C18. My family was still sitting. Vanessa had put her phone away. My mother was checking her nails. My father was looking at his watch. Well, he said. It's not there. I checked everywhere. Bethany. He stood up, crossed his arms. This is exactly why I was worried about bringing you on this trip. You're not ready for international travel. The words hit me like a slap. I didn't lose it, I said. It was in my bag. Vanessa tilted her head. Are you sure? Maybe you left it at home. I showed it at TSA. You saw me. I didn't see you, she said. Smooth. Calm. I was ahead of you in line. That was true. She had been ahead. But my mother had been beside me. My mother had seen. I turned to her. Mom, you saw me show my passport. At security, right? She hesitated. Just a second. Just long enough for me to know. I think so, honey. But I wasn't really paying attention. The intercom again. United Flight 986. Now boarding Group 2. My father's group. My mother's group. Vanessa's group. They'd paid for seat upgrades. Premium economy. I was in Group 3. Basic. We can't miss this flight, my dad said. His voice was tight. Controlled. This trip cost $18,000, Bethany. We can't let 3 tickets go to waste because you lost your passport. I stared at him. So you're just going to leave me? My mother wouldn't look at me. Honey, you're 27. You can handle staying home. We'll bring you something nice, my dad added. Something nice. Like a souvenir could replace 12 days in Europe. Like a keychain could replace being chosen. Vanessa stood. She picked up her designer carry-on, a Prada bag I knew cost more than my rent. She walked over to me, pulled a key from her pocket, and held it out. Here, she said. My apartment key. Coco needs to be fed twice a day. 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Walk her morning and evening, and don't let her on the couch. She's not allowed. I looked at the key. Coco, her Pomeranian, her $4,000 Instagram-famous white fluffball Pomeranian. You want me to dog sit? I said. Flat. Numb. Vanessa smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. I mean, you weren't that excited about the trip anyway, right? This works out. I wasn't excited. I'd spent $600 on clothes. I'd requested time off work. I'd been packed for a week. But sure, I wasn't excited. Good, Vanessa said, pressing the key into my palm. Stay home and watch my dog. The final boarding call. My father picked up his bag. My mother adjusted her scarf. Vanessa checked her lipstick in her phone camera. They were really leaving. I stood there, holding a key to an apartment that wasn't mine, watching my family prepare to board a plane I'd never get on. My dad turned back. We'll call you when we land. They didn't call. I could have cried. I could have begged. I could have made a scene. But I'd spent 16 years learning how to be small, how to not make waves, how to swallow everything and smile. So I looked my father in the eye, and I said one word. Fine. He blinked. Fine? I said fine. Have a great trip. Vanessa laughed, nervous, like she'd expected more fight. Okay, wow. No need to be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, I said. My voice was steady, cold. I'm going home. Enjoy Paris. I picked up my bag. I walked 10 steps toward the exit. Then I stopped. I turned around. They were at the gate now, scanning their boarding passes. My mother's back, my father's profile, Vanessa's blonde ponytail swinging as she walked down the jetway. I pulled out my phone. I took a photo. All 3 of them, backs turned, walking away. The timestamp read 4:19 p.m., June 15th, 2023. I saved it to my photos. Then I opened the album settings and changed the name from Family to Evidence. Because somewhere, deep in my gut, I knew. This wasn't about a lost passport. This was something else. And I was going to find out what. 3 days later, I was sitting in Vanessa's apartment in Lincoln Park, a sleek 1-bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows and furniture that looked like it came from a West Elm catalog, feeding a dog that hated me. Coco growled every time I walked past her designer dog bed. She refused to eat unless I hand-fed her organic chicken from a glass bowl. My phone buzzed with notifications from the group chat. Diane Fletcher. Just landed in Paris. So tired, but so happy. Glenn Fletcher. Eiffel Tower tomorrow, can't wait. Vanessa. Fletcher. Photo of 3 of them at a cafe, croissants and cappuccinos, golden hour light. Living our best life. I turned off my phone. I looked at Coco. Coco looked at me with an expression that said, "You don't belong here." She was right. I grabbed my keys. I got in my car. And I drove west. 150 miles to Cedar Falls. To Maplewood Nursing Home. To the only person who'd ever made me feel like I mattered. I arrived just before 10 a.m. on a Sunday. The parking lot was almost empty. Visiting hours, prime time, and there were 4 cars total. I signed the log at the front desk. My name. The date. June 18th, 2023. The line above mine, blank. The line above that, blank. I flipped back a page. Diane Fletcher, February 10th. 4 months. In 4 months, I was the second person to visit my grandmother. Room 314. I walked down the hallway slowly this time. The smell hit me first. Disinfectant, urine, something medicinal and sad underneath it all. Doors opened to rooms where people sat alone, staring at TVS, staring at walls. Grandma was by the window. She turned when I walked in. Her face lit up. Actually lit up, like sunrise. "Bethany," she said, "you came back." I sat in the chair beside her. I took her hand. "I told you I would," I said. "Every weekend. Until you're sick of me." She smiled, tears in her eyes. "I could never be sick of you, sweetheart." We sat in silence for a minute. The kind of silence that's comfortable. The kind you can only have with people who really love you. Then she said, "Where's everyone else? Your father? Your mother?" I looked at her. At this woman who'd taught first grade for 40 years, who'd baked me cookies when my parents chose Disneyland for Vanessa and not me, who'd sent me money every semester of college when my parents said they couldn't afford it. And I told her the truth. They're in Europe, Paris, Rome, Barcelona. 12 days. She nodded slowly. "That sounds lovely." I was supposed to go with them. Her eyes sharpened. "What happened?" "I lost my passport." The lie tasted bitter. At the airport, 15 minutes before the flight, they left without me. Grandma was quiet for a long time. "Did you lose it?" she finally asked. "Or did they take it?" I froze. No one had asked me that. Not out loud. Not even in my own head. Not fully. "I don't know," I whispered. She squeezed my hand. "Beth, can I tell you something? Anything. I know my son. I raised him. And I know when he's lying." I waited. "Last year," she said, her voice soft, careful. "Before my stroke, your father asked about my savings account, the one your grandfather and I opened in 2003. We put the life insurance money in there. $60,000. For emergencies. Medical things." My stomach dropped. "I made it a joint account with Glenn," she continued. "So if something happened to me, he could pay my bills. It was supposed to be for my care." "Grandma." I asked him about it in March. He said not to worry. He said he was managing it. "But Beth." She looked at me, and her eyes were scared, confused. "I haven't seen a statement in over a year, and I keep asking, and he keeps saying everything's fine, but I don't think it is." She reached into the drawer of her bedside table, pulled out a folded piece of paper, her handwriting, shaky, in blue pen. "This is the account number," she said. "I need you to check it for me. I need to know I'm not losing my mind." I took the paper. Wells Fargo, account number 4782-6891-1120. "When did you last check the balance?" I asked. 2021. It had $58,200. 2 years ago, before her stroke, before my parents retired early, before they announced an $18,000 trip to Europe. I looked at my grandmother, 76 years old, thin, alone in a nursing home room that smelled like industrial cleaner and defeat, and I made a decision. "I'll check it, Grandma," I said. "I promise." The next day, I drove back to Cedar Falls with my laptop. Grandma was sitting in a wheelchair by the window when I arrived. She'd dressed herself. A cardigan I remembered from years ago. Soft yellow, the color of the marigolds she used to plant every spring. I set up my laptop on the small table beside her bed. "Do you remember your login?" I asked. She pulled out an old address book. Brown leather, corners frayed. Inside, in careful handwriting from 2018, before the stroke took some of her memory, username and password. I typed them into the Wells Fargo website. The page loaded. Current balance, $387.52. Grandma leaned forward. She wasn't wearing her glasses. "How much is left, dear?" I couldn't say it. I clicked on transaction history. Set the date range, January 2022 to June 2023. 37 withdrawals. Starting balance, January 1st, 2022. $58,240.18. Ending balance, June 19th, 2023. $387.52. I scrolled through the list. My hands were shaking. March 8th, 2023. Minus $15,000. Memo. Family trip deposit. April 12, 2023. Minus $8,000. Memo. Travel expenses. May 5th, 2023. Minus $12,000. Memo. Europe reservations. February 14th, 2023. Minus $20,000. Memo. Medical expenses. I stopped on that one. Medical expenses. Valentine's Day. I opened another tab. Typed Vanessa Fletcher Apartment Chicago into Google. Her Instagram came up. A post from February 20th. A photo of a key in her hand. A window with a city view. The caption, "New place alert. Thanks Mom and Dad for the down payment $20,000 from my grandmother's medical fund to buy my sister an apartment." While Grandma sat in a nursing home, missing medication refills, wondering why no one visited. I looked at her. She was staring at the screen, though I knew she couldn't read the numbers from that distance. "Grandma," I said carefully, "when did Dad get power of attorney?" "After my stroke. November 2022. He said it was just in case, so he could manage my bills if I couldn't." "And he's been managing your money since then?" "That's what he told me." I clicked through more transactions. Smaller ones. 500 here, 2,000 there, all marked Grandma Care. But the nursing home bills weren't being paid from this account. I pulled up another tab, searched Maplewood Nursing Home Billing, called the number. A receptionist answered. I explained who I was, asked how my grandmother's care was being paid for. "One moment," she said. I heard typing. A long pause. "She's on Medicaid," the receptionist said. "Has been since January 2023. We bill the state directly. Medicaid. Government assistance. For people with almost no assets." "How did she qualify?" I asked. Her son submitted financial statements showing she had under $2,000 in assets. Medicaid approved her in January. I looked at the screen. In January 2023, the account still had over $40,000. My father had hidden the money, applied for government assistance, made taxpayers cover her $6,500 monthly nursing home bill, while he booked first-class train tickets from Paris to Rome. I sat very still. Grandma reached out, touched my arm. "Is it gone?" she asked. Her voice was small. "The money?" "Almost all of it." She didn't cry. She just nodded. Like she'd known. Like she'd been hoping she was wrong, but she'd known. "He's my son," she whispered. "How could he?" "I don't know, Grandma." We sat in silence. The TV in the corner played The Price is Right. Someone down the hall was coughing. Finally, Grandma looked at me. "Beth," she said. Do you think, do you think I can get it back? She wasn't asking if it was possible. She was asking if I would help. I took her hand. I looked her in the eye. Yes, I said. We're getting it back. All of it. The next morning, I sat with Grandma in the quiet room at Maplewood, a small space with a couch and a door that closed, used for family meetings and difficult conversations. I had my phone on speaker. We were calling Adult Protective Services. The number was easy to find. Iowa Department of Human Services. 1-800-362-2178. I'd called it the night before, alone in my car, just to hear the recording, to make sure it was real. Now, with Grandma beside me, I dialed again. A woman answered, Iowa Adult Protective Services. If this is an emergency, press 1. I pressed 1. What is the nature of the emergency? I took a breath. My grandmother is a vulnerable adult in a nursing home, I said. Her son has power of attorney. He withdrew nearly $60,000 from her account without her knowledge or consent. She's also being neglected, missed medications, no family visits for months. Is your grandmother able to speak right now? I looked at Grandma. She nodded. Yes, I said. Put her on, please. Grandma leaned toward the phone. Her voice was steady, stronger than I'd heard it in months. My name is Dorothy Fletcher, she said. I'm 76 years old. My son took my money, and I want it back. There was typing on the other end. Then a new voice. Mrs. Fletcher, this is Sandra Mills. I'm an APS caseworker. I'm going to help you. Can you tell me what happened? Grandma told her. Slowly, carefully, the joint account, the withdrawals, the nursing home, the medication delays. I filled in the details, the bank statements, the Medicaid fraud, the Europe trip. Sandra took notes. I could hear her keyboard clicking. Mrs. Fletcher, she said, I need to ask you directly. Did you give your son permission to withdraw this money? He said it was for my care, Grandma said. I thought he was paying my bills. I didn't know he was taking vacations with it. Her voice cracked on the last word. Sandra was quiet for a moment. This is financial exploitation of a dependent adult, she said. It's a Class C felony in Iowa. Are you willing to pursue charges if our investigation confirms this? Grandma looked at me. I nodded. She turned back to the phone. Yes, she said. I want to pursue charges. Sandra assigned us a case number. IA-2-023-06-8834. She scheduled an in-person visit for the next day. She told us to gather all documentation, bank statements, medication records, visitor logs. One more thing, Sandra said. Does your son know you're filing this complaint? No, Grandma said. He's in Spain. I could hear the smile in Sandra's voice. Good. The element of surprise helps. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. We hung up. Grandma sat back in her chair. She looked exhausted. Did I just report my own son? She asked. Yes. Good. She closed her eyes. I should have done it sooner. That afternoon, I called a lawyer. Jeffrey Crane, Elder Rights and Estate Planning, Cedar Falls. 4.9 stars on Google. Specializes in financial abuse cases. The receptionist put me through to him directly when I explained the urgency. This is Jeff, he said. Gravelly voice. 50s, I guessed. I told him everything in 3 minutes. When I finished, he was quiet. How fast can you get your grandmother to my office? He asked. Thursday morning. Thursday, 9 a.m. Bring the bank statements, the power of attorney documents, and 2 witnesses. We're doing an emergency will revision and POA termination. How much will this cost? $1,200 for the will, but I'm waiving half of it. I hate financial abusers. I almost cried. Thank you, I said. Thank me when your father pays your grandmother back. he said. See you Thursday. I called Grandma that night from Vanessa's apartment. Coco was barking at a squirrel outside the window. I found a lawyer, I told her. We meet him Thursday. He'll help us change your will and remove Dad's power of attorney. There was a long silence. If I do this, she finally said, your father will never forgive me. Grandma, he stole from you. He left you alone. Do you want his forgiveness or do you want justice? Another pause. What will I even leave behind? She asked. Her voice was so small. After he took everything? Your house is paid off. That's $120,000 in Cedar Falls real estate. You have your antique furniture, your wedding china, Grandpa's pearl necklace. You have more than you think. And it should go to someone who loves you, not someone who abandoned you. I heard her breathing on the other end. You're right, she said. I'm doing this. Thursday, 9 a.m. I'll pick you up at 8:30. Beth? Yeah? When do they come home? Your parents? I checked Vanessa's Instagram, her latest post, a sunset in Barcelona. The caption said, Last night in Europe. They land Sunday, June 25th, I said. So we have 4 days. Exactly. Sandra Mills came to Maplewood the next morning at 10 a.m. sharp. She was a black woman in her 40s, kind eyes but no nonsense. She carried a clipboard and a digital recorder. She interviewed Grandma for an hour, recorded everything, asked about the withdrawals, the medication delays, whether she felt safe. She photographed the medication logs, the visitor logs, the room. Before she left, she turned to me. You did the right thing calling us, she said. Then she looked at Grandma. Mrs. Fletcher, I've seen hundreds of these cases. Adult children who see their parents as ATMs. You're not alone. Grandma nodded. I feel so foolish. Don't, Sandra said firmly. Abusers rely on trust. That's not your fault. It's his. She packed up her things. I'm filing this as financial exploitation and potential Medicaid fraud, she said. I'll notify your son within 72 hours. But since he's out of the country, I'll mail a certified letter to his home address. He'll get it when he returns. Perfect timing. Thursday morning, I drove Grandma to Jeffrey Crane's office. It was a small building on Main Street in Cedar Falls. Second floor, elevator access. 2 paralegals, Emily and Marcus, served as witnesses. Jeffrey read the new will out loud. I, Dorothy Ann Fletcher, being of sound mind and body, do hereby revoke all previous wills and codicils. I leave my entire estate, including but not limited to my home at 428 Maple Avenue, Cedar Falls, all personal property, antiques, jewelry, and financial assets, to my granddaughter, Bethany Marie Fletcher, as sole beneficiary. He paused. I specifically exclude my son, Glenn Fletcher, my daughter-in-law, Diane Fletcher, and my granddaughter, Vanessa Fletcher, from any inheritance. This exclusion is intentional and made due to financial exploitation and willful neglect during my time of vulnerability. Grandma signed. The witnesses signed. The notary stamped. 9:47 a.m., June 22nd, 2023. Glenn Fletcher's power of attorney was terminated at 9:50 a.m. Mine was activated at 9:51 a.m. When will he find out? Grandma asked. Jeffrey smiled. When he tries to access your accounts, or when he receives the APS letter, whichever comes first. Grandma smiled back, faintly, sadly. He's going to be very angry, she said. Let him be, Jeffrey said. You did nothing wrong. We drove back to Maplewood in silence. At a stoplight, Grandma turned to me. I'm ready, she said. For what? For the call, when they get home. I want to do it myself. I reached over, took her hand. Okay, Grandma, I said. We'll do it together. Sunday, June 25th. 3:15 p.m. My phone buzzed with a notification. Vanessa Fletcher posted a story. Video of baggage claim at O'Hare, carousel spinning, her voice over the camera. Home sweet home, best trip ever. They were back. I was still at Vanessa's apartment, still feeding Coco, still pretending everything was fine. At 4:10, the group chat lit up. Diane Fletcher. We're home. So tired but so happy. Best family trip ever. Glenn Fletcher. Bethany, thanks for watching the house. We'll drop off your souvenir tomorrow. I didn't respond. At 6 p.m., I texted Grandma. They're home. Are you ready? Her reply came immediately. Call them at 6:30. I'll be listening. I drove to Naperville, parked outside my parents' house, a brick colonial with a 2-car garage and a lawn my dad mowed every Saturday. The lights were on. I could see them through the kitchen window. My mom was cooking. My dad was unpacking. Vanessa was probably upstairs, editing photos. At 6:28, I called Grandma on my cell. She answered on the first ring. I'm ready, she said. I'll stay on the line. You won't be alone. Thank you, Beth. At 6:32, the landline at my parents' house rang. I watched through the window as my dad picked up the kitchen phone. Hello? Grandma's voice, calm and clear through my cell speaker. Hello, Glenn. It's your mother. I saw my dad's face change. Surprise. Then something else. Guilt, maybe. Or fear. Mom, hey. He sounded too cheerful, too bright. We just got back from Europe. How are you? I'm well, thank you. I wanted to call while you're all together. Is Diane there? Vanessa? He hesitated. Yeah, hold on. He put the phone on speaker, called out to them. Through my cell, I heard shuffling. My mom's voice. Dorothy, we missed you. We brought you back some... Grandma cut her off. I don't want souvenirs. Silence. Mom, what's wrong? My dad's voice, nervous now. I know about the money, Glenn. I watched his face turn white. What money? The $58,000 you took from my account. The money your grandfather left me for medical emergencies. The money you used to take your family to Paris, to Rome, to Barcelona. My mother's gasp was audible through both phones. Dorothy, I think there's been a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. I have the bank statements, every withdrawal, every lie you wrote in the memo lines, medical expenses, when you bought Vanessa an apartment, family trip deposit, when I was sitting in a nursing home with expired blood pressure medication. Vanessa's voice, shaking. Grandma, I didn't know. You laughed when Bethany stayed behind, Grandma said. Her voice was steel. You said, good. Stay home and watch my dog. While you spent my money. My dad was gripping the counter. I could see his knuckles white from where I sat in my car. Mom, listen. I can explain. I don't need explanations. I need you to know 2 things. First, Adult Protective Services will be contacting you. I filed a complaint. They're investigating you for financial exploitation and Medicaid fraud. You what? Second, I changed my will. Jeffrey Crane has the paperwork. You get nothing. None of you. Everything goes to Bethany. My mother shrieked. Actually shrieked. You can't do that. I already did. The will was signed Thursday. Witnessed, notarized. You're done. Mom, please. My dad's voice broke. We can fix this. Fix this? You left me alone for 4 months. You stole my life savings. You made me think I was losing my mind when I asked about the money. You abandoned me. The only person who didn't abandon me was Bethany. And she's the only one who deserves anything from me. Vanessa was crying. I could hear it through the phone. Grandma, I'm sorry. You're sorry you got caught, Grandma said. There's a difference. My dad, desperate now. We'll pay it back. Every cent. You'll pay it back because the law will make you, not because you want to. A pause. Then Grandma said, Goodbye, Glenn. Mom, wait. Click. The call ended. I sat in my car. My hands were shaking. Through the kitchen window, I watched my father stare at the phone. My mother frozen at the stove, water boiling over, steam rising. Vanessa with her face in her hands. My dad said something. I couldn't hear it, but I could read his lips. She filed a complaint. A PS is coming. My mother turned. How did she even? And then my dad's face changed. He looked toward the window, toward where I was parked. Bethany, he said. I started my car. I drove away. My phone buzzed 14 times in the next hour. 6 calls from my dad. 5 from my mom. 3 from Vanessa. I didn't answer. At 7:20, my dad left a voicemail. Bethany, I know you're behind this. You turned my own mother against me. You have no idea what you've done. Call me back or I swear to God. The voicemail cut off. I saved it, filed it under evidence. The next morning, a certified letter arrived at my parents' house. I knew because my mother called me 37 times. I knew because Vanessa texted me. What did you do? I knew because at 9:15 a.m., my dad left another voicemail, and this time his voice wasn't angry. It was scared. Bethany, please, we need to talk. The state is, they're saying please call me back. I deleted it. I called Grandma instead. They got the letter, I said. She was quiet for a moment. Good, she said. Now they know what it feels like to lose everything. July 5th, 10 a.m., Des Moines, Iowa. My father sat across from Sandra Mills in a small conference room at the Department of Human Services building. His lawyer was there, Mark Ostroff, $400 an hour, a man with silver hair and a tired expression. My mother was there, silent, crying into a tissue. Sandra had a file in front of her, 3 inches thick. Mr. Fletcher, she said, let's go through this step by step. She opened the file, pulled out the bank statements I'd printed at Maplewood. March 8th, 2023. You withdrew $15,000 from your mother's account. The memo says, family trip deposit. Explain that. My dad's mouth opened, closed. I thought the money was for family expenses. Family expenses? Sandra repeated. Your mother is in a nursing home. Her family expenses are covered by Medicaid. So whose family are we talking about? Silence. Sandra flipped a page. April 12th. $8,000. Travel expenses. May 5th. $12,000. Europe reservations. She looked up. You took your family to Europe while your mother missed medication refills because the pharmacy couldn't reach you. Do you see the problem? My father stared at the table. The forensic accountant, Tom Bergen, 50s, glasses, leaned forward. Mr. Fletcher, did your mother benefit from any of these withdrawals? I paid for her nursing home. No, you didn't. Tom slid another document across the table. Nursing home records show Medicaid has paid for her care since January 2023. You withdrew the money before that. Where did it go? My dad's voice was barely a whisper. Travel. My daughter's apartment deposit. I thought Mom wouldn't need it. Sandra's face didn't change. You thought a 76-year-old stroke patient wouldn't need her life savings? My dad's lawyer interjected. My client made poor financial decisions, but there was no malicious intent. Sandra turned to him, slowly. Poor decisions that funded a $35,000 European vacation while his mother sat in a nursing home, asking if she'd done something wrong. She paused. I call that malicious. The interview lasted 2 hours. At the end, Sandra closed her file. You'll receive notice of a restitution hearing in 2 weeks, she said. I suggest you start liquidating assets, because one way or another, Mr. Fletcher, you're paying your mother back. July 20th, Cedar Falls County Courthouse, Judge Patricia Waldron presided. Grandma was there. I pushed her wheelchair to the front of the courtroom. My father sat on the other side with his lawyer. My mother was in the gallery, sunglasses on, face turned away from everyone. Vanessa wasn't there. The judge reviewed the evidence, bank statements, APS reports, nursing home records. My father didn't contest the facts. He couldn't. Judge Waldron looked at him over her reading glasses. Mr. Fletcher, you held power of attorney. That's a position of trust. You violated that trust in the most egregious way, by stealing from a woman who gave you life. Do you have anything to say? My father stood. His hands shook. I'm sorry, he said. I made mistakes. You made choices, the judge interrupted. Choices have consequences. She signed the order. Restitution, $58,000 principal, plus $8,200 interest, plus $3,500 in court fees and penalties. Total, $69,700. Payment due within 90 days, or monthly installments of $2,500 for 28 months. If you fail to pay, Judge Waldron said, I'll hold you in contempt, and you'll pay from a jail cell. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. The judge turned to Grandma. Mrs. Fletcher, I'm sorry this happened to you. The law will make sure you're repaid. Grandma's voice was soft. Thank you. We left the courthouse through the side door. My father was waiting outside. He stepped in front of us. Are you happy now? He said, looking at me. Not Grandma, me. I'm not happy, I said. I'm just not sorry. He tried to step closer to Grandma. I moved between them. Don't, I said. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he walked away. By the end of August, my father had sold everything. His 2021 Lexus, $38,000. His 401k, liquidated early. $31,000 after penalties. His Rolex watch, $8,000. Vanessa's apartment lease, broken. She lost her deposit. Moved back in with my parents. They drove a used Honda Civic now. One car between them. My father's insurance license was suspended. He couldn't work. My mother filed for divorce in September. On August 15th, my father took a plea deal. Financial exploitation of a dependent adult. Class D felony. 3 years supervised probation. 200 hours of community service at an elder care facility. $5,000 fine. Felony record. The prosecutor told me later that he was lucky. Without the plea, he could have faced 5 to 10 years in prison. His community service was assigned to Maplewood Nursing Home, the same place where Grandma had lived. He cleaned bedpans, delivered meals, mopped floors. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone knew what he'd done. On September 5th, my mother sent me an email. Subject: I hope you're happy. You destroyed this family. Your father lost his career. Vanessa lost her apartment. I lost my car, my savings, my friends. Everyone knows what happened. And for what? So you could play hero to an old woman who won't even be around much longer? You're cruel, Bethany. Crueler than I ever thought possible. Don't contact us again. You're not our daughter anymore. I read it once, forwarded it to Grandma. She called me immediately. What did it say? She asked. That I'm cruel. That I destroyed the family. Do you regret it? No. Do you? Not for a second. They destroyed themselves. I deleted the group chat, blocked their numbers, changed my emergency contact from Glenn Fletcher to Dorothy Fletcher. I was done. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. September 12th, 2023. I rented a small truck and drove to Cedar Falls. Grandma was being discharged from Maplewood. Officially. No longer needing 24-hour nursing care. Just daily support. I packed her things. Clothes that smelled like lavender, books with cracked spines and her name written inside the covers. The wedding china she'd somehow kept safe in a storage unit. Photo albums from 50 years of teaching first grade. She cried when we left room 314. I thought I'd die here, she said. I knelt beside her wheelchair. You're not dying anywhere but home, I said, and home is with me, now. We drove back to Chicago. 2.5 hours on I-80, the September sun warm through the windshield. Grandma fell asleep with her head against the window, and I drove carefully, taking the turns slow. My apartment in Logan Square was small. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Rent I could barely afford on my social worker salary, but I'd turn my office into Grandma's room. A new bed, soft yellow bedding, her favorite color. A bookshelf filled with her books. The window faced east so she'd get morning sun. That first night I tucked her in. She held my hand. I'm not a burden, am I? She asked. You're the opposite of a burden, I said. You're the reason I wake up smiling. She cried. Happy tears this time. I love you, Beth. I love you too, Grandma. More than you know. We fell into a routine. Every Sunday morning, 9 a.m., I made pancakes. Her recipe. The one from the index card dated 1965, stained with butter and flour and 50 years of Sunday mornings. Buttermilk, vanilla extract. A pinch of cinnamon, she said, was the secret. She'd sit at the kitchen table, her walker beside her, and tell me stories. Little Tommy Brandt, 1978, she'd say. Couldn't read it all in September. By May, he was reading Charlotte's Web cover to cover. His mother cried at the parent-teacher conference. I'd flip the pancakes and memorize every word. On October 15th, she asked me, Do you ever miss them? Your parents? I thought about it. Sometimes I miss the idea of them, I said. The family I thought I had. But the real them? No. She nodded. I miss the son I thought I raised. But the man who stole from me? I don't know him. We're better off without them. She smiled sadly. We are, past the syrup. On October 28th, Grandma had a good day. I want to teach you something, she said. We went to the grocery store. I pushed her wheelchair through the aisles of Jewel Osco while she inspected apples, sniffing each one. This one, she'd say. Not that one. Too soft. We bought Granny Smith apples, butter, cinnamon, sugar, flour. Back home, she sat at the kitchen table and directed me through her apple pie recipe. How to cut the apples, how to mix the filling, how to make a lattice crust. Your mother never wanted to learn this, she said, watching me crimp the edges. Said it was old-fashioned. Well, I want to learn. Teach me everything. Her eyes filled with tears. I wish I had more time to teach you everything. I knelt beside her wheelchair. Grandma, don't talk like that. I'm 77, sweetheart. I'm not naive. But I'm grateful. For this. For you. I hugged her, held her while the pie baked, and the apartment filled with the smell of cinnamon and butter and something that felt like home. When the timer went off, the pie was perfect. Golden crust, bubbling filling. We ate it warm with vanilla ice cream. When I'm gone, she said quietly, make this every year on my birthday, and think of me. You're not going anywhere. She smiled. Not yet. But someday. Thanksgiving was just the two of us. I cooked a small turkey, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, apple pie, of course. Grandma wore her nice cardigan, the yellow one. I helped her get dressed, brushed her hair. We set the table for 2. She said, Grace, thank you for this food, this home, and this girl who saved me when I thought no one cared. Amen. I cried into my napkin. We ate slowly, talked about nothing, laughed at old stories, The Macy's parade played on TV, volume low. "Do you think they're thinking about us today?" Grandma asked. "Probably, but not in a good way." She chuckled. "Good, let them stew." "Grandma, that's mean." "I'm old. I'm allowed to be mean." We both laughed. That evening, she fell asleep on the couch during the football game. Cowboys versus Giants. I covered her with a blanket and watched her breathe. "Please don't leave me yet," I whispered. Christmas came. I bought a small tree, 4 feet tall, fit perfectly in the corner of the living room. Grandma and I decorated it together. I lifted her out of her wheelchair so she could place the star on top. Christmas morning, I gave her a framed photo. Me at 8 years old, sitting on her lap on the front porch in Cedar Falls. Summer 2003. I'd just lost my first tooth. She cried when she saw it. "I remember this day," she said. She gave me a small velvet box. Inside, her pearl necklace, the one Grandpa had given her on their wedding day in 1970. "I want you to have this now," she said, "while I can see you wear it." I tried to argue. It was too much. "It's not enough," she said. "You gave me my life back. A necklace is nothing." I fastened it around my neck. The pearls were warm, like they remembered her skin. "I'll never take it off," I said. "Good. Then I'll always be with you." On New Year's Eve, just before midnight, Grandma woke up confused. "What year is it?" she asked. 2023, Grandma, almost 2024. She looked around, disoriented. "Oh, I thought it was 1985. It was the first time I realized we were running out of time. January 15th, 2024. 2 a.m. Grandma's cough had been getting worse for 3 days. I'd given her tea with honey, propped her up with pillows, checked her temperature every few hours. But that night, she couldn't breathe. I called 911. The ambulance came. Lights flashing. No sirens. The neighbors' lights turned on as they carried her out on a stretcher. Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Emergency room. Fluorescent lights, an antiseptic smell, and a doctor who looked too young to be a doctor. Pneumonia. Oxygen saturation 88%. At her age, post-stroke, "This is very serious," the doctor said. I stayed by her bed for 48 hours. Didn't go home, didn't sleep. She was lucid sometimes, confused other times. On January 17th, the doctor, Dr. Patel, kind eyes, steady hands, pulled me into the hallway. "Her organs are shutting down," he said. "We can keep her comfortable, but you should consider hospice." "How long?" "Days, maybe a week." I nodded. I couldn't speak. "Does she have advance directives?" he asked. "Yes. No machines. She wants to go peacefully." "Then I recommend hospice, at home, if possible." I took her home. September 18th, we set up a hospital bed in my living room. Grandma didn't want to die in a bedroom. "I want to see you moving around," she said. Hospice nurses came twice a day. They brought morphine for the pain, oxygen to help her breathe. I took leave from work, sat beside her 24 hours a day. I read to her. Breakfast at Tiffany's, her favorite, even though she slept through most of it. I played Audrey Hepburn movies on my laptop, sound low, just so she could hear the music. I held her hand. Every time she woke up, she'd see me and smile. "Still here?" she'd ask. Always. On January 20th evening, she opened her eyes. Suddenly, clearly. "Beth," she said, "I need to tell you something." I leaned close. "What is it, Grandma?" "You were always my favorite. From the day you were born. Don't ever forget that." "I won't. I promise." "And don't be angry at them forever. It'll only hurt you." "I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done." "Good. Being done is better than being bitter." She closed her eyes. Went back to sleep. January 21st. She stopped eating. Barely drank water. The hospice nurse said it wouldn't be long. That night, I lay on the couch beside her bed, holding her hand. I fell asleep listening to her breathe. I woke at 6:30 a.m. on January 22nd. The light was different. Softer. Golden. Her breathing had changed. Slower. Rattling. I sat up. Leaned over the bed. "Grandma, I'm here. I'm right here." Her eyes were half open. Unfocused. Her lips moved. No sound, but I could read them. "Love you." "I love you too. So much." She exhaled. Long and slow. I waited for the next breath. 10 seconds. 20. 30. I checked her pulse. Nothing. 6:47 a.m. Sunlight coming through the window, east-facing, catching on her face. Dorothy Fletcher, 77 years old. Gone. I called the hospice nurse. She came within 30 minutes, confirmed what I already knew. The funeral home came at 9. Before they took her, I removed the pearls from my neck and placed them in her hands. I sat with her until they arrived. Didn't want her to be alone. The funeral director was gentle. "Is there family we should notify?" he asked. "No," I said. "I'm her family." The service was January 27th, First Presbyterian Church in Cedar Falls. I planned everything. Hymns, Amazing Grace, flowers, yellow roses, the eulogy. I wrote it myself. Delivered it with a voice that shook but didn't break. 47 people came. Former students, neighbors, library volunteers, people whose lives she'd touched in ways I'd never know. Not one member of my immediate family. I didn't invite them. They didn't ask. After the service, a woman in her 70s approached me. "Your grandmother taught my son to read in 1983, she said. "He's a lawyer now because of her. I'm so sorry for your loss." I thanked her, and I realized my grandmother had touched hundreds of lives. My father had destroyed one. I buried her next to my grandfather in Cedar Falls Cemetery. I planted yellow roses on her grave. I drove back to Chicago alone. I cried the whole way, but somewhere around mile 80 I stopped. Because I realized something. I wasn't alone. I had 5 months with her that my father tried to steal, and I'd taken them back. I had her last words, her last smile, her pearls, and a recipe for apple pie that I'd make every October 12th for the rest of my life. She was gone, but she wasn't lost. March 2024. 2 months after Grandma died, a check arrived in the mail. Estate of Dorothy Ann Fletcher. Jeffrey Crane had sold the house in Cedar Falls, $122,000. The contents: antique furniture, wedding china, the things my father hadn't touched, had been auctioned. $23,000. Her bonds cashed. $12,000. Life insurance, updated before she died. $18,000. Total: $175,000. Minus legal fees, minus funeral costs. Net to me, $137,000. I sat on my couch, stared at the check. It was more money than I'd ever seen, and I knew exactly what to do with it. $28,000 to pay off my student loans. Every cent. Balance, zero. $25,000 to the National Center on Elder Abuse. In memory of Dorothy Fletcher. They sent me a thank you letter. I framed it. $50,000 as a down payment on a condo. My own place. Not rented. Mine. The rest went into savings. For the first time in my life, I could breathe. On June 10th, I closed on the condo. Logan Square. 1 bedroom. Small kitchen. A window that faced east. I hung Grandma's apple pie recipe on the wall. Framed. On June 15th, exactly 1 year after the airport, I found a box Jeffrey had forwarded from Grandma's things. Inside, a letter. My name on the envelope, in her handwriting. Instructions: open after I'm gone. I sat on the floor of my empty condo, boxes all around me, and opened it. My dearest Beth, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I hope I went peacefully, with you beside me, because that's all I ever wanted, to not be alone at the end. I'm writing this in December, on a good day, while you're at work. I want you to know, you saved my life. Not just from your father, from loneliness, from feeling like I didn't matter anymore. When you visited me that first time at Maplewood, I thought I was dreaming. No one had come in so long. And then you kept coming, every week. You moved me into your home. You gave up your time, your freedom, to take care of me. You didn't have to. But you did. I know you'll blame yourself when I'm gone. You'll think you should have done more. But Beth, you did everything. You gave me the best last year of my life. Use the money wisely. Pay off your debts. Buy a home. Help others. Live freely. And don't carry anger for your father. He'll carry his own punishment. Regret. Every day he'll wake up knowing he chose money over love. That's a prison I wouldn't wish on anyone. You were always my favorite. Not because Vanessa wasn't lovable, but because you loved without asking for anything back. That's rare, sweetheart. Don't lose that. Make the apple pie every October 12th, and when you do, smile. Because I'm smiling too, wherever I am. I love you forever, Grandma Dorothy. I read it 3 times, then I cried. Not sad tears, release tears. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, framed it beside the recipe. On October 12th, 2024, Grandma's birthday, I made the pie. Granny Smith apples, cinnamon, sugar, lattice crust. Perfect. I ate 1 slice in my kitchen. Then I drove to Cedar Falls, to the cemetery. I left the second slice on her grave with a note. Happy birthday, Grandma, I made your pie. Still perfect. I heard through a mutual acquaintance what happened to my family. Vanessa was working at Target. Her influencer career died when someone leaked the story. No sponsors, no followers, just silence. My father was working night shifts at a warehouse. $16 an hour. Felon record meant no better options. My mother had filed for divorce. Couldn't handle the shame. They lost everything. And I felt nothing. Not gloating, not sadness. Just the quiet certainty that I'd made the right choice. Now, late 2024, I'm 28 years old. I live in my condo. I work as a senior social worker, specializing in elder abuse and family trauma. Every case I take, I think of Grandma. Every Sunday, I make pancakes. I set 2 plates. One for me, one for her memory. I play You Are My Sunshine on my phone, the song she used to hum off-key every morning. I'm dating someone, Sarah. She's a teacher, kind, patient. Reminds me of Grandma in the best ways. I wear the pearls every day, and I'm okay. More than okay. I'm free. Free from the weight of being second best. Free from waiting for people who never chose me. Free from a family that only saw me as an obligation. Because I learned something Grandma tried to teach me my whole life. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up. It's who fights for you when you can't fight for yourself. It's who sees you when you feel invisible. My grandmother had 47 people at her funeral. Former students, neighbors, people whose lives she'd changed just by being kind. My father? When his time comes, he'll have 3 people. Maybe. And that tells you everything you need to know. So here's what I want you to hear. If you're the second choice in your family, you're not the problem. If you're caring for someone everyone else abandoned, you're a hero. If you've ever been left behind while others moved forward, you're not forgotten. You're free to choose a better path. Stand up for what's right. even when it costs you everything. Cherish the people who truly love you, even if they're not blood. And don't let anyone, family or not, make you feel like you're worth less than you are. Because you're not second best. You're not a backup plan. You're someone's first choice, even if it's just your own. Rest easy, Grandma Dorothy. I'm making your pie. I'm living the life you wanted for me. A life where I'm free. A life where I matter. A life where every Sunday morning I wake up and remember. Love isn't loud. It's quiet. It shows up. And it stays.